Evolutionary.org, Underground Supplements, episode number 1. Today we're going to talk about N2Guard liver and organ support. So on this one, it's going to be a really fun one. We're going to talk about everything that N2Guard does for you. We're going to go through the list. We're going to talk about the ingredients, how the ingredients help. It's a very large ingredient profile on this product. It's got everything in it. We're going to talk about all the things it does for you and how it helps you on cycle, PCT, between cycles. We're going to talk about how to run it with orals. We're going to talk about how to run it with injectables. So it's going to be a really, really fun show. So first, let's start out with the big one, organs. And there's 3 organs that when you use anabolic steroids really take a beating. And you can confirm this yourself by simply getting blood work done when you're on cycle. And a lot of people, they run and they abuse anabolic steroids and they're scared to even look at their blood work on cycle. And trust me, I don't blame them, because I've seen some really scary numbers. Because anabolic steroids, absolutely, they do a lot of things in your body when it comes to your organ health, liver, kidneys, and heart. So we'll start with the liver a little bit. So really there's 2 ways that the 2 best ways to test for liver just from simple blood work are AST and ALT. So those numbers, when you run anabolic steroids, it's normal, whether you're running oral steroids, whether you're running injectable steroids. Anabolic steroids, they're liver toxic. Some more than others, some a lot, some a little bit. But overall, you can expect some liver strain. What happens is your AST and your ALT will go sky high. Now, let's say you were to not get those numbers corrected, okay, and you were to let those numbers stay elevated. That would be an extreme amount of strain on your liver, and it's going to make you tired. It's going to waste your energy. It's going to hurt your progress. It's going to make it harder on your body to build muscle and lose fat. So really, it's very important. This is where N2Guard really helps for the liver, because it helps cleanse out your liver and it helps your liver work better when you're on it. And we're going to go over the ingredients that do help the liver. It's got about 7 or 8 ingredients that specifically have been shown in studies to help with the liver. The next one is the kidneys. Now, with kidneys, the best way to check it is your serum creatinine, and that blood test measures the amount of creatinine in your blood. And if your kidneys are not working like they should, that number goes up. So should be within range, but you'll notice when you are using anabolic steroids, those numbers get strained. And that means that your kidneys are having to do a lot of work, a lot more work than they normally would. You can compound this because usually, we have a lot of muscle on our frame and we are in the gym working our muscles day in and day out. So it's very important to understand that you're already straining your kidneys as it is. And plus, a lot of us follow a lot high protein diet. So you combine that with anabolic steroids, now you see why your kidneys get strained. Now, heart health. Mobster, he's a big, big guy on heart health. Tell us a little bit about heart health, Mobster, and what things to look for in blood when it comes to your blood health overall.
This is kind of simple, Stephen. I think sometimes athletes kind of almost choose to ignore it. So, okay, guys, Steve's already touched on a couple of issues, which still apply even to heart health, right? You are trying to do fucked up shit in the gym. You are, right? You are trying to create way more muscle than your body is prepared before training to hold on to. You are, as Steve's already said, pounding around the protein. So here's what happens when you take steroids, right? You have something called the athlete's heart, Steve, and the athlete's heart is literally where the heart will thicken up. Especially the walls of the heart will thicken up just in response to the training. You're going to have increased blood pressure as a simple fact of both the training itself. So you're going to be periods of time when your blood pressure is high just from lifting weights, but also you're going to have increased blood pressure from the thickening and from literally the effects of steroids in and of themselves. It's that specifically the medical uses of some steroids was to treat anemia. Now, if you're not anemic and you're taking a drug that treats anemia, it's going to thicken your blood, right? What else have we had, Steve? We've had the increase, for example, in blood clots, deep vein thrombosis, and so on and so forth. If you think that stuff is not having an effect on the heart, you are literally burying your head in the sand and choosing to ignore it. So obviously what we try to do, Steve, and this is where we're talking about the whole reason for a product like N2Guard, is we want to maximize the health that we can while we're doing something that was inherently unhealthy. We want to keep ourselves. We know that on cycle, especially with crazy hard training, we're pushing the parameters of unhealthy behavior. Just for myself, Steve, if I do absolutely crazy stuff, I'm risking injury, I'm risking tendon strain, I'm risking muscle tears. And that's just lifting the goddamn weights, guys. Now throw PEDs into the mix, and we're looking at all those issues. An obvious example, Stephen, there's another one when it comes to athletes, is the enlarged heart. And that's literally where you get, I think it's called myocardial infraction. And it's because your heart is hitting the side of your rib cage. It's got so big, or it's just grown. It's not, when I say so big, Steve, it's not even a big growth. It's a little bit of growth, but it's enough for it to hit the tissue inside your abdomen, inside your thorax, right up there against the rib cage. And that means that you get essentially what feels like an irregular heartbeat. So do what we do, guys, train, lift weights, have high protein diets, and take PEDs. You are 100% going to have an effect on your body, especially in your organs. But in my example, Steve, specifically on your heart. We want to minimize those risks. We want to minimize the factors. We want to increase, not have the issue with the anemia affecting drugs, etc., that we're taking. And that's without, for example, just going back to your liver and kidneys, Steve, for a moment, the methylation of oral steroids and so on and so forth, and all the effects that they're going to have. So think of that, guys. You are trying to do crazy, fucked up things. So crazy, fucked up things is going to happen to your body. And it's like having an insurance policy, Steve. We don't want to cash in. We don't want to have to get stuff fixed. So we do these things like an insurance policy to minimize the risk factors, to aid our recovery while we're doing the fucked up stuff, and especially both on and off cycle. Steve, back to you.
So before we get into how to use N2Guard on cycle, because it's very important, you can use it optimally. We're gonna show you how. Really want to get into the ingredients, because it's easy for us to just do this podcast, Mobster and I, and tell you, yeah, we use a supplement. Trust me, bro. And then we're gonna try to go get you to buy it. I mean, it's easy to do that, but we're not lazy on this podcast. Let's go over all the ingredients and let you make your own decision. Because once you see the ingredient list to this and what each of these ingredients do, and you can look up what each of these ingredients do, they've been used for hundreds of years by us over the years. Because back in the day, what we do, I remember before N2Guard, what Mobster and I would do, we would actually go to the vitamin store and pick out about 15 different supplements to buy. And that's what we take while we were on cycle. N2Guard came out. Now you just need to run one bottle. We're talking about 30 servings per bottle. Each serving size is 7 caps. And it's going to last you a month. So it's a really, really good price for sure for your health. It's a good investment on your health. Go ahead, Mobster, really quick. We need to start on the ingredient list.
Yeah, something that Steve said, and I've actually referenced to the article here, Steve, and I remember this specific scene. You guys go to Pumping Iron, the classic bodybuilding movie, and there are scenes in the movie where the bodybuilder has got 15 or 20 products on the shelf, and they are literally going down the product line. Heck, Ronnie Coleman had like a special trainer for it, Steve, and he's there with this great tray that's twice the size of a PC keyboard, with all these little compartments, and literally taking a pill out of this one and out of that one and out of that one. They were taking 50, 60 pills a day. Heck, I think I probably took 20, 30 pills back in the day myself, Steve. So we don't want to have to do that. It's a drag. So we want a product that has this. The other thing that Steve said as well, and when we're doing these ingredients, guys, I want you to go away and check what we're saying is correct. Check the facts regarding the product. Check the facts regarding the ingredients. Look at the dosages, look at especially the effective or optimal dosages, and hold that up against N2Guard just to see how it compares. Let's get into the ingredients, Steve.
All right. First one we could talk about is thiamine. It's got 25 milligrams per serving. Thiamine is great for vision, organs, and nervous system. Next one is folate, 1,000 micrograms. Folate, it's good when it comes to having healthy cells in the body. And that's something that anabolic steroids tend to really hit hard, the cells in our body. Magnesium, 50 milligrams. We all know what magnesium is. A lot of you supplement with it who do a lot of, sports where you're sweating a lot. It's an essential electrolyte. And a lot of you are deficient in it, and it's affecting how far you're going to go when it comes to fitness. It can also be one of the early indicators of diseases that you get later on in life, especially like diabetes and stuff like that. And you really, really need it if you're going to do a lot of cardio. Zinc, that's an essential mineral. Poor testosterone levels and deficiency are found in zinc. That's why you see a lot of testosterone boosters. That's one of their ingredients, because if you don't have zinc in your body, guess what? You're not going to produce testosterone. Selenium, 25 micrograms. This is an antioxidant. It's going to help you with your brain health, your immune system, and a lot of other things in your body. So right off the bat, these ingredients all help you function good. Mobster, why don't you give us the next handful of ingredients?
Okay, guys. So pantothenic acid, 25 milligrams, helps make healthy cells in the bottle and also boost energy from food, which you especially want on cycle, Steve. Calcium, 14 milligrams. Calcium is a very important mineral for our nervous systems, cells, bones, and teeth. Iodine, 100 micrograms. So I actually tie this in with zinc, Steve, in terms of tissue repair, like for injuries and scars and scabs and all that kind of stuff, guys. So again, tissue repair, one of the most important compounds for our thyroid health. We will be stressing our thyroid, especially if we're dieting. A poor functioning thyroid will result in major headaches. And again, guys, that's an issue with hydration, especially when you are losing fat and you're stressing your body. Another one, Steve, vitamin A, 5,000 intravenous units, an important vitamin for eyes, reproductive health, and overall organ health. There's that key phrase again, guys, organ health. Bear that in mind. And one more, Steve, riboflavin, 25 milligrams, works to transfer nutrition into energy. Again, you want to be running as optimally as you possibly can, getting the best out of your food, the best out of your diet, the best out of your training, and repairing and protecting your organs. Back to you, Steve.
So there's a few more vitamins in here that are very important. A lot of you out there, you've heard of these. You have vitamin B6, vitamin B12. The vitamin Bs, a lot of us are deficient in it. It starts in the gut. Poor gut health, poor vitamin B, you're not able to absorb your food properly. And basically, even if you switch your diet and start eating good again, it's going to take a long time for your gut health to improve. So that's a major problem. If you don't have proper vitamin B in your body, you're not going to have energy. So this is very, very important for all that. Also, your brain isn't going to function the way you want. Your immune system isn't going to function the way you want. Vitamin C, we hear a lot about vitamin C, not just for immune health, but also your heart, your skin, cancer fighting. Vitamin C is great. Vitamin D, 100 IUs of that. Mobster, you know this, living where you live. People who live in climates where there's not much sun, people in Alaska, you don't get sun all winter, Norway, Sweden, vitamin D is an issue. So this is very important because we need it. We evolved from Africa. We evolved from getting a lot of sun. So if you're not getting sun, you're not going to have a healthy muscular system, and then your bone health is going to suffer too. And then we get into some of the, a couple really, really good ones that come from nature. Hawthorn berry, 7 milligrams. We all know that berries are really good for you. Well, this is great for heart health, especially. Turmeric root, 125 milligrams. Again, an antioxidant, anti-inflammation. What happens on cycle? It's the opposite. You get a lot of inflammation. So this is really, really good. We all know what a lot of people cook with turmeric root for this reason. So it's also included in this. So Mobster, I know you know a lot about taurine, and give us a few others in here. Talk a little bit about taurine. It's a very, very important ingredient here for helping with pumps at the gym. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, this is the thing, guys. So I'll just lift the dosages first. Taurine, 233 milligrams. Now, any of you that, I've mentioned this on podcast before, Steve. I'm a great fan of Anavar as a strength enhancement steroid for me when I'm on cycle. Love it. One of my favorite oral steroids. But the VAR pumps, guys, the VAR pumps. And again, even one of the things I was actually thinking about as you were talking, Steve, is how sometimes when we're doing these cycles, we limit our diet, we restrict our diet, especially if we're competing. So go back over that list that Steve just read and think about how some of that might be missing from your diet if you're limiting or restricting your diet in any way. For me, taurine, guys, go on the Evo forums and see how big taurine is as an amino acid when it comes to getting those horrible VAR pumps or the deliberating pumps, literally where the pump has become so painful. Or even in my case, Steve, and I've had actually guys mention it to me, they reminded me. I've said, oh, my hands were cramping up last night, my forearms cramped up. Heck, Steve, I trained legs yesterday, and as I was turning over in bed yesterday, settling down for the evening, I was getting muscle cramps in on my left inner thigh. And again, that's just from hydration, but also sometimes from the limited to the diet and whatever else is going on. So a little bit of taurine, and I mean a little bit of taurine, guys, and those cramps and those pumps, painful pumps, lessen. Now, we love the pump, guys, but we don't want to be in pain. So it's absolutely classic. Another one, Steve, garlic fruit extract. Guys, if you don't know by now just how good garlic is for your heart health, then you're missing out. You must have been living in a cave. Garlic fruit extract, 50 milligrams. Not only is it great for your heart health, but it also is a powerful antioxidant and also helps with your brain. And another one, Steve, boron amino acid chelate, 20 milligrams. Another additional ingredient that is great for boosting your own natural testosterone health. In other words, guys, not only is it keeping, let's be crude, your balls healthy on cycle, but it's going to aid in the recovery when you come off cycle. And one more, Steve, and funny enough, the magazine that I used to have back in the day, Muscle Mob, and a couple of old guys, they love this as an energy supplement. Coenzyme Q10, 10 micrograms, and I'll read it. It says, one of the most wonderful heart health supplements you can put into your body. The old guys, because I had a lot of older readers, Steve, they loved this as a energy product, and it made you naturally energetic. Not only with these guys training and they're super healthy, they've got good diets as well, but old age, you're not going to be as energetic as younger. They love this one, Steve. Back to you.
Yeah. Q10, definitely number one heart for the heart. If you ask anybody, any Eastern medicine doctor, they'll tell you if you got high blood pressure, go get Q10. You know, and it's considered one of the best ones, so that's why it's in here. Polycosanol, 5 milligrams. Again, great for the heart, blood circulation, lipid health. Again, one of the top ones. Apple pectin, 250 milligrams. We all know how important how healthy fruit is for this. And apple pectin is great because it's great for your digestion and heart health. Evening primrose oil, 60 milligrams. This one is going to help with joint pain and arthritis. It's very common to get this on when you're running a more harsh cycle with things like winstrol that really take beat up your joints. So you see on these ingredients, they all kind of tie into some of the complaints that guys make, all these side effects that guys complain about. These ingredients really, really help. A really good one, dandelion root extract, 200 milligrams. It's a gentle diuretic, helps with water retention. Again, a lot of times you're running dianabol, testosterone, you're going to get water retention. This one helps with that, but it's not like a dangerous diuretic drug that you take and you can kill yourself. No, this is a gentle diuretic. It's going to peacefully and easy, it's going to help with that. And it's going to help lean you out because you're not going to have water retention in your body. So really, really great ingredients. I'll do one more. Erva ursae leaf extract, 75 milligrams. This one is really popular because it helps your prostate and it also helps overall with cleansing your organs as well. So gosh, I mean, there's so many different ingredients in here, Mobster, that do so many different things. And all these ingredients come from nature. They're derived from nature. They're things that humans have known about for a long time. You can read books from 200 years ago and they'll have a list of supplements, that they'll have a list of herbs, they'll have a list of plants, they'll have a list of this, list of that you can take from nature. And you can take these for these different ailments. And this is what people used to use before pharmaceuticals came around, and they work incredibly well. And we're not done yet. We still have more.
Monster, why don't you
hit some more.
Guys, we're barely halfway through the list. That's how crazy this is. Honestly, if we carry on, Steve, I mean, parsley leaf, 150 milligrams, another natural diuretic. What sometimes happens, guys, is you get water retention, especially on drugs, the oral steroids, like, for example, Anadrol or Dianabol. You will get, sometimes guys swell up, they get that water retention. We call these watery steroids. And so having these gentle natural diuretics are perfect. Omega-3 fatty acids, 15 milligrams. Guys, whether it's omega-6 or omega-3, the ratios need to be on point. But here's the thing, guys. These are super healthy fatty acids. I take this stuff daily, Steve, just for my eye health in terms of fish oil. But again, this is an on-cycle product. So you're not only are you doing the stuff you normally do, which is great for skin, great for your eye health, but it's also for helping you maintain a healthy heart. You know, guys, that there's those margarines out there that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. There's a reason for that. And here we are taking them because we're not only eating healthily, but we are stressing our bodies in the gym and obviously, again, with the PEDs. Another one for you, Steve, astragalus root extract, 300 milligrams, boosts your immune health and balances lipids. Lipid profiles are super important, guys, when we're looking at the heart test. Steve mentioned a couple of them earlier on. And immune health. Again, we are stressing our body, guys. We are pounding away in the gym. We're trying to make crazy stuff happen. That will, whether we like to admit it or not, suppress sometimes. But how many guys get little sniffles and colds when absolutely going crazy, but also when on high dosages of PEDs? The next one, Steve, God help me if I pronounce this wrong, guys. So don't beat me up on it. Phosphatidylcholine. I may have said that wrong, guys. 40%. That's something else you want to look at, guys. The standardized extract, that's what the 40% means. 300 milligrams, helps with anxiety and brain health. Quick one on the anxiety, Steve. The amount of guys, high dose, I don't think it's specifically a trend, but some steroids give you the sensation of anxiety because it kind of, it's like driving a car super fast and the engine's revving really high. That's what you're doing again in the gym. You're trying to make crazy stuff to happen. Put on pounds of muscle, stress in the body. And that can give you the sensation of anxiety as well as your actual feelings, and therefore this is going to help with that, and again with brain health. Another one, super important, this one, guys, it is in every organ type product there is, but you again look at the dosages that are in N2Guard. Milk thistle seed extract. Notice what I said about it being a seed extract, not just milk thistle. Some cheaper lower grade products, that's all they'll say. 300 milligrams, and I'll quote here, Steve, the #1 sought after liver aid, which also helps balance insulin levels. Now, if you don't see this in your organ protector, your stuff is crap, guys. It'll be the cheap one you got from the health food shop. You need to look, and again, the seed extract and the right dosage. One more, Steve, red yeast rice. And again, it's the difference between brown rice, white rice. Why red yeast rice? Because it's specifically historically considered one of the best supplements for heart health. You almost don't want the white rice, Steve. Maybe small amounts, and then again, you actually want this stuff because it's actually better for you, guys. And I'll give you one more. Again, put my CV in here, guys. Glutathione, 100 milligrams, can reverse insulin resistance and help boost healthy cells, guys. I know Steve's touched on this on multiple podcasts when he's talked about insulin resistance. Basically, the modern diet is fucking shit. And the amount of sugar and fat that we have in the modern diet is horrendous. Now, we should be eating better than that when we're on cycle. But, guys, you have those binge days. You have sometimes you're trying to boost insulin, you're reversing insulin resistance to enable you to grow, to put on more muscle. And you should be eating clean, but it's going to help you with the stuff that's already happened when you were eating really, really bad diets, and especially if you were overweight or out of shape before you started training and got into the healthy lifestyle. Back to you, Steve.
All right, so the next one, indole 3-carbinol, 50 milligrams. This is found in things like broccoli, cauliflower, cruciferous vegetables. How many of those are people getting in America? None. Let's be honest about it. So this is a really important supplement, and it's one of the few supplements out there in actual studies that has been shown to fight cancer. It's also going to help balance hormone levels as well. ALC, L-tartrates, HCI, 350 milligrams. This is great for helping you with energy, reversing fatigue, brain function, all that good stuff. Next one, I used to take this when I was doing a lot of endurance sports, and it helped me. Chlorophyll, 100 milligrams, great for detoxing, and it's also great for helping you hydrate. It's just a really, really good one to include in there. A lot of health food stores sell chlorophyll and people just take it, but this is also included. You got beta 1,3-1,4 glucan, 30 milligrams. This helps with your blood sugar issue, heart health. So when you're on tren, your blood sugar goes crazy, your heart health goes to crap. So this is a really good one to use with tren. If you're not using N2Guard with tren, you're crazy. And we're going to talk about that in a little while, how much of a difference it makes. This is one that mobster you probably don't know about in Europe, but if you live in South America, you know, yerba mate leaf, 200 milligrams. So yerba mate, they drink it down in South America, just like in America, or where you are mobster, drink tea, and where America, we drink coffee. So yerba mate is kind of their one of choice, and it's actually way healthier than coffee, and even, you know, as healthy as most, or more healthy than most teas out there. I think green tea would be the one that I would say is the most healthiest, but yerba mate, it's really good actually. I used to drink this. I used to go and get your yerba mate. I've had a date like in the evening, and I wanted to, you know, stay awake for the date. It was really, really good. But it's good for everything: digestion, burning fat, antioxidant, all that good stuff. So it's a much healthier option than coffee. Mobster, you want to start? You want to take us the rest of the way? There's some really good ones, including Tudka, prickle leaf, and black pepper fruit extract that we really have to go over. So there's a few more left. Mobster, why don't you take us home on those?
We're nearly done, guys. It's a really, really long list of ingredients, and we're trying to cover all of them. And before I carry on, Steve, I'll say something that I said earlier on, guys. Check the ingredients, check what they do, confirm what we're saying, and then look at the way that they're formed, whether they're an extract, whether they're from the seed, and then look at the dose specifically and tell me that the doses and everything else is not on point. Rhodiola rosea root extract, 100 milligrams, reverses the stress when you come off cycle and helps with brain function and endurance. Some of you get brain fog, especially when you're depleted, when you're trained, especially when you're overtrained. And then, of course, we are stressing our bodies. I said that before. Here's another one, Steve. Bacopa monore whole plant extract, 100 milligrams, a great supplement for digestion and gut health. Again, when it increases protein, we've also breaking down muscle tissue. So both of those things are going to have issues with the body, and the protein, of course, is trying to repair the gut health. Glutamine does that as well, Steve. And again, you're trying to digest sometimes a much higher amount of food than most people, even if you're doing 3, 4, 5, 6 meals a day. Tudka that Steve talks about, guys, this is right up there as probably one of the most important ingredients that you should have on cycle as an organ protector, as an organ repairer. Highly sought after substance of very serious benefits for kidneys, heart, liver, and the brain. And again, 250 milligrams in this case. Check the dosages, check the ingredient profile. A couple more, Steve. Pick Roliv, 75 milligrams, makes it easier to move oxygen through the body and boost the liver. So the oxygen thing, guys, it's one of those things that's going to give you that sense or feeling of a little bit more energy. And again, you're stressing the body. Your body is finding it hard with training, and especially with PEDs, to process these things. And the harder you train, the harder it's going to be. Now, if you've got a level of fitness at the beginning, great. But Steve's mentioned the trend, which knackers your fitness, to put it as we say here in the UK. So this one's going to help boost that oxygen through the body, which is going to help with the repairs, but also give you that small sense of energy. One more, Steve, again, Capiris spinosa, 50 milligrams, a compound rich in antioxidants. Again, tissue repair, guys, keeping you super healthy. N-cetyl L-cysteine, 300 milligrams, reducing stress and anti-inflammatory, like Steve said again. How many of you guys have a day off or 2 days off and suddenly realize how sore you are? That's the body being inflamed around the joints, the muscle itself, the lactic acid, all that kind of funky stuff that we know that we do in the gym. And we don't realize we're sore until we take a few days off or we go on holiday. And now suddenly we realize just how inflamed we are. And being inflamed is another thing for increasing water retention, Steve. Black pepper fruit extract, piperine, 5 milligrams. This is another one of those ingredients that's, especially in the last few years, Steve, people become aware of just how important it does. So here's what it does, guys. And the last bit is especially true. Helps burn body fat, but the main purpose here is that it boosts absorption, making the formula even more potent. What was the one that people used to do, Steve? If you took a grapefruit and certain medications, the doctors actually told you not to, because it was typical absorption, say for 300 milligram products. you might only get 200 milligrams effective dose into the body after absorption. And piperine, from grapefruit, but here the much better source, black pepper fruit extracts, increased it. So you was getting as much, in this case, of the good stuff as possible, because you're taking up and utilizing way more. So let's talk about now. That's the complete list of ingredients, guys. But we want to talk about now the difference between what you might take on an oral stack or oral cycle, and then we'll compare that again to a mild and then a more aggressive injectable, Steve. Let's start with orals. I'll start with orals. Big fan of orals, guys. But what is it about orals that cause problems? But quite simply, it's the old methylation of oral steroids, and they're required to be methylated, guys, because quite simply, the body would break it down, and you'd get very little utilized by the body for what we want, which is muscle building and strength enhancing purposes, and the rest would be excreted. You, to put it crudely, guys, you'd pee it, sweat it, or shit it out. So we want as much of that stuff to be absorbed into the body to do its magic. Now, way back in the days when science was developing oral steroids, they realized that there was a problem. So they methylated the active property of an oral steroid. Let's say dianabol, for example. So what happens is the methylation is a harsh thing for the body to deal with, because, as I said, it wants to break that down and excrete it, essentially. So we need it to what's called the first pass. It's a bit convoluted, guys, and you don't really need to know the specifics, but the bottom line here, guys, is we want to increase the absorption into the body, and the act of methylation is a stressor, and specifically a stressor on the kidneys and the liver here, both in terms of the absorption and or excretion later on. And both of those things cause problems. Now, one of those organs can naturally recover, but the other one can't. So we want something to protect the organs, again, liver and kidneys here, from the methylated action of the oral steroid. Now, low dosages is one thing, but some of you guys are going to push the envelope, and it applies both to orals and injectables. I've always been a low dose kind of guy, so whether it's Anavar or Debol, Anadrol, very rarely, Steve, exceed 50 milligrams a day, if ever. And some of those you can actually go as high as 100. And that's the reason, that's the way they were given for medical reasons back in the day. I'm thinking specifically of Anadrol. And Anavar, typically 50 milligrams a day, and I try to keep the Dianabol down to 30 milligrams. But ultimately, how long am I on cycle? 4 weeks, I might get away with it. 6 weeks, I'm causing myself problems. 8 weeks, which is typical for me, and I'm going to cause myself twice as many problems if I was running for 4 weeks. So I want to use a product N2Guard to enable me to run it longer and have the same risk factors, or also to give me a boost to my organ health. Just give an example, Steve. Talk to the listeners and tell them just how harsh some oral steroids can be. And again, I'm thinking more, even at the low, I actually made a show note here, Steve, how guys, users of PEDs, and I'm thinking specifically of oral steroids, were using lower dosages back in the day, and yet we still saw liver and kidney issues in some users back in the day. Never mind with the dosages that we have now. What do you think, Steve?
So very important tip when you're using orals and N2Guard, and this was told to me years ago, and it's to take the N2Guard 90 minutes away from the oral. So example, if you're taking your oral steroids at 9 o'clock in the morning, you want to take the N2Guard either before 7:30 or after 10:30. So you want to give it at least an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And that's because the N2Guard actually can make the orals work more better, and they also have ingredients to make the orals work less better. So it's best to just not take it anywhere close to each other. And that's not gonna interfere with your orals at all. So that's number one. Number two, when you're using oral steroids, Mobster talked about liver strain. Look, I've seen numbers that would blow your mind, even from pro hormones, just over-the-counter pro hormones. I've seen guys end up with jaundice, and that's really, really scary. Like their eyes turn yellow and all this stuff. And then they post pictures and they post it online on social media, like they're proud of themselves or something. Well, damaging your liver that much, the liver is a very strong organ. Okay. But when you damage your liver, you're also damaging the rest of your body in the process, because now the liver isn't able to do what it's supposed to be doing. You see? So you really have to be smart about this and not put yourself in this predicament. So really, if you're running an oral, you've got to run N2Guard with it. You got to. And you can go to cheap route and run 3 or 4 caps. You can run it 7 caps where you should be running it for which is the serving size. But at the minimum, you need to be running N2Guard. And it's really, really going to help with all this stuff we mentioned. I mean, I can go and tell you the list. Like, first off, with orals, how many times do people complain about with orals that they have problems digesting orals? Well, guess what? N2Guard has a bunch of ingredients that help with your digestion. So that can't be an excuse. How many times do we see guys complain about energy on cycle? Their energy levels suffer. I mean, N2Guard, listen, if you gain 20 pounds on a cycle, look, N2Guard is not a miracle worker here. It's not, I'm not saying that it's going to magically offset the amount of weight you put on where you're still going to feel great, but it's going to help. It's going to help with energy. It's going to help reverse fatigue during the day. It's going to help you get better in the weight room. These are things that it's going to do. It's going to detoxify your liver. And if you've got, it's not going to magically, if you're running 2 liver toxic orals at the same time and you run blood work with the N2Guard, you'll notice that your AST and your ALT improve on N2Guard. Will it be at normal ranges on cycle? No, but it won't be strained tremendously where it'll take a long time when you come off. You'll have a much quicker liver recovery when you come off. So these are things that N2Guard does for the liver. Same thing with the kidneys. Is it going to magically make your kidney levels back to normal if you're using 1 or 2 grams of steroids a week? No. But it's going to help you recover your kidneys quicker when you come off, and it's going to prevent your kidney numbers from going really, really sky high. So these are things that it's going to do when you're running oral steroids to help protect your liver, your kidneys, and your heart.
I'm just jumping back in here, Steve. I'm thinking of a couple of effects that the specific ingredients address. And we actually touched on one when we were talking about ingredients, prostate health. And I'm again thinking specifically of oral steroids, although some injectables have an effect, of course, and also water retention, which we mentioned earlier on again. That's the reason why we have products in here, ingredients in here that are going to help with prostate health. Now, I'm an older guy. Steve's not a million miles behind me. We're not young men, but I'm probably about 10, 15 years ahead of Steve. And the older I get, as a man, not someone who trains and whatever else, just someone in my age, the more likely I am to have issues with my prostate. And in fact, I have the less than glorious pleasure, Steve. Once I hit 40, they started doing prostate examinations. Once I hit 50, I got another prostate exam. This is just on the National Health Service here in the UK. And I'm sure that in a year or two, when I'm goddamn 60, they'll in fact, I believe, Steve, it starts to be every 5 years. So they start to examine my prostate, guys. And I don't need to draw you a picture, but that's literally the lubed glove up the bum to make sure that my prostate's working. And of course, blood profiles, etc., etc. Now, that would be if I didn't train and if I didn't use performance-enhancing drugs, orals or injectables. So these are super, super important in the average Joe that doesn't work out, just to have less issues with your prostate. And you are going to take steroids, and again, specifically oral steroids in this example, you're going to push the risk factors for issues with prostate health. The markers are going to be worse than they would be if you didn't use performance-enhancing drugs. That's just, let's not faff about, guys. So again, what we want to do is a healthy lifestyle, plenty of healthy fruits and vegetables and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And then again, because specifically we're using steroids, and especially in this example, oral steroids, we need the ingredient profile that N2Guard offers. Now, as Steve said, and I'll touch on this just momentarily, you could probably get away with a slightly less than recommended dose on a low-level short oral stack. I would always recommend, and indeed I've done so on the forums, and I quote, read the label, guys. And what do I mean by that? Literally just take what it says on the container. It says on the label. Now, with injectables, which we're going to touch on now, Steve, that may well be something you want to change a little. Now, I'll let Steve jump in here, but specifically, guys, high dose, and especially of the more aggressive steroids, so high doses of, say, for example, Tren, I think you're pushing the risk factors, the inflammatory issues, and the stressors as high as perhaps a harsh oral stack, Steve. So the recommendation here tends to be more. What do you think?
Yeah. So, let me just finish out the oral segment. So some of the more harsh orals, Halo, Superdrol, Winstrol, Anadrol, those you really want to make sure that you're running at least 7 N2Guard a day. You might even want to go 8, 9 a day. Okay, these are very, very harsh on the liver. Dianabol is also liver toxic. T-Bol is also liver toxic. Anavar is also liver toxic when it comes to oral steroids. The ones that aren't so liver toxic, Proviron, it's not 17 alpha alkylated, so it's not as liver toxic. Andriol, which is rarely used, it's not liver toxic. I mean, that's pretty much, the ones, right off the top of my head that you really don't have to worry about as much. But anything you put in your body that's a foreign substance is going to do something to the liver. So don't think, I'm taking Proviron, it's not 17 alpha alkylated, it's not going to do anything to my liver. It's just not true. I mean, there is going to be some effect, especially considering we use these compounds at PED dosages. We're not using Proviron at 2 milligrams a day. We're using it at 50 milligrams a day, you see? So same thing with Dianabol. We're not using Dianabol at 1 milligram or 2 milligram or 3 milligram a day. We're using it at 30, 40, 50 milligram a day. So you got to factor all that in. So it's really important to use the N2Guard on a daily basis to help combat all these side effects that you're going to experience on oral steroids. Injectable steroids. Now, huge misconception out there that people think injectable steroids don't hit your liver, and it's absolutely false. Look, if you don't believe me, go run a steroid cycle and go get your blood work tested. I guarantee you your liver values will go up. I don't care if you're just using testosterone or you're just using Primo or you're just using Equipoise. I don't care. You don't have to use Tren. It's going to have some effect on your liver. It's absolutely going to have an effect on your kidneys. N2Guard helps boost your kidney function, helps increase your immune system. Isn't it funny when you run a steroid cycle, you notice that you get sick, you get the flu, you get a cold, whatever. That's not a coincidence. It's because many anabolic steroids out there, because they're inflammatory in the body, they hit your immune system. So you end up sick. You're in the middle of your cycle and you get the flu, you get a cold, you get something wrong with you. It's like, what's going on here? Well, that's not an accident. It's because your immune system was weak and it made it easier for your body to not fight off that virus. So that's what N2Guard is going to help with your immune system. You're not going to waste a week or two during cycle being sick and having to just stay home from the gym. Again, it's going to help with your energy when you go to the gym. Another thing it's going to do on cycle, it's going to help balance hormones, estrogen and testosterone levels. Let's say you're running a cycle that aromatizes to estrogen. It's going to help. It's going to help with the water retention. It's going to help balance your estrogen more. It's going to make it easier for your aromatase inhibitor that you're using to work better. So it's not just going to help your steroids work better. It's not going to help your organs work better. It's going to help your body overall work better. And it's going to help the other drugs that you're taking, like Aromacin or Arimidex, work better as well on cycle. And it's going to help your PCT drugs work better because when you come off, it's going to help balance your hormones. So when it comes to N2Guard, what is the difference? You will see the difference. Like, let's say you're using N2Guard on cycle and you're running testosterone and Tren, for example. These are two serious steroids, right? And you run out of N2Guard and you're like, you know what? I'm too cheap. I just spent all this money on my cycle, but I'm too cheap to go buy myself a bottle of N2Guard, okay? So you're like, I'm just going to go without the N2Guard for the next couple of weeks. You'll notice after a couple of weeks, you feel like crap. You're like, man, I felt so much better when I was on the N2Guard. So when you're running a harsh steroid, injectable steroid, oral steroid, like something like Tren, I like to run my N2Guard 10 milligrams a day. I mean, 10 capsules a day, And that really makes a big difference to me. Can I get away with 7 capsules of N2Guard? Yes, but I feel even better when I run 8, 9, 10 capsules a day of the N2Guard. I don't care how much it costs because it's going to help me with my results and it's going to help me with my gains. So absolutely, I recommend when you're using a harsh steroid or you're using over 800 milligrams, you definitely use a little more N2Guard, but absolutely you can get away with just 7 capsules because that's a recommended dose.
Let me jump back in here for a second here, Steve. This is something I've actually mentioned online a few times, and I'm gonna hammer this point home here, guys. Steve said, and I believe is exactly right when he says it, that some guys said they're going to save themselves a few bucks because N2Guard can, for them, be an expensive product. It's not. Absolutely not. And you know why I say that, guys? Because I'm saying I can go to the Web Build Muscle site, and I could need to build muscle site, and I can go, do you know what? Oh, that's a fair few quid. So you're prepared to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on your PEDs, but you're not prepared to spend the price of N2Guard to protect yourself from the damage that you might be doing. That's just being cheap ass, guys. And I don't want to insult the listeners, but it is. Number 2, and I've actually said this again on the forums as well. Don't just jump in and grab some cheap steroids because they were up in a sale and run the thing. Do your stuff properly. We've talked about how you can run steroids and SARMs in a way like we did a podcast even a $400 budget. And what did I say? I remember saying specifically, save up and get the products that you need. And that would include a product like N2Guard. Get it ahead of time. Get it when you aren't doing a cycle. Get it ready for the cycle you're going to do. 1 month buy the N2Guard. The next month buy half your stack. The following month buy the rest of the stack. And then when you're ready to rock and roll, you've got everything together, when you've got your PCT in place as well, guys, now you're ready. Plan ahead. Steve, this is what I would do when it comes to N2Guard. I would go off in the middle of the winter, and if I'm not going to run a steroid stack, that's when I would buy it. Maybe in October, November, I'll buy some then. And in November, December, we know we've got to pay for stuff for Christmas, guys, and everybody's going to be putting out some bucks left, right, and centre. And that's just how it is. Then I take my N2Guard, I stick it on a shelf in the office, which is cool and dark. When it's cool enough, I'm quite cold in here now, guys. I haven't got the heater on. I can take it and I can stick it in my gym, which is always cool. Again, year round, I can stick it away with the medication and stuff like that. Cool, dark, dry place, and then I bring it out, and when I'm ready to run a cycle. Don't skimp out by not using a product N2Guard to protect your organs. Don't tell me that you can afford a steroid stack or a SARM stack and your gym memberships and your protein powders and your steak and all the rest of the wonderful things that we like to do that's going to enable us to be absolutely jacked and ripped and lean and strong and all the rest of that stuff, and then skimp out by not spending the money that's needed to buy N2Guard. Like I said, even NeedToBuildMuscle had sales in the past. They may have sales in the future. They might do deals where you can buy 2 instead of 1. Look out for those things. And when you've got some spare bucks, buy it. Even if you're not going to use it right now, even if it's 2-3 months down the road, just make sure that the use by date or the best before date is on point. And you can always contact the NeedToBuildMuscle and double check that before you buy the products that you've got that stuff in. Don't cheap out on organ protection, guys. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it really boils down to, what you want out of your cycle. And do you want to run the cycle optimally, or do you want to struggle through your cycle? Like I said, you'll notice the difference when you run your cycle with N2Guard versus without N2Guard. It's also giving you, it's not just helping cover up the bad things steroids do for you. It's also doing a lot of other things, including it's helping boost your essential vitamins and minerals. We talked about the list of vitamins and minerals that are in it. It's actually going to help give you that nutrition that you need, that a lot of us are missing. So you're going to get better results on your cycle. It's basically investing in your cycle and helping you get better results and helping you keep your gains as well. And it's going to help also with cells in the body. It's going to help repair and grow cells in your body. So your muscles are made up of cells. So it's actually going to help you put on more muscle when you use it because of all these great ingredients that it has. So it's an absolute must use on cycle. Heart health. When you're running an injectable cycle, your heart health is going to get strained. Your cholesterol levels are going to get thrown off. That's going to happen. Okay. Even people who are deniers, all right, they will admit that, yeah, when I use anabolic steroids, my cholesterol levels go off. Even the people who are like, well, anabolic steroids are safe, they don't do anything to your heart, that's all myths, blah, blah, blah. They'll even admit that. And you can go get your cholesterol levels checked. My cholesterol levels went from 160 total cholesterol to 240 when I ran Tren. Okay. That's 80 points. My total cholesterol is zoomed up. So when I run N2Guard, it keeps it 200, 210. So it keeps it right on the border of where it should be on Tren, even on Tren. So that's huge to be able to stay and not strain my heart health while I'm on Tren is a huge benefit, because it's going to keep me alive longer, and it's going to damage my heart much, 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 much less than my cholesterol level zooming to 240, 250, 260 total cholesterol. That's what it's all about. So it's an investment in your health that's going to save you money in the long run on hospital bills, if you think about it in that way. So I love it. I love N2Guard. It's the #1 supplement out there. I highly recommend that you guys try it. If you haven't tried it before, go ahead and try it. If you have tried it before, it's back in stock. So I would definitely grab a few bottles of this stuff and try it on your next cycle. You're gonna really be impressed with how much better it helps your cycle. Whether you're running oral steroids, injectable steroids, it does not matter. Overall, it's going to help. And then post-cycle, it's going to help. It's going to help you recover post-cycle. It's going to help balance your estrogen post-cycle. So it's going to help your testosterone levels post-cycle. It's got ingredients for that too. So you can't go wrong on-cycle orals, on-cycle injectables, on-cycle orals and injectables, post-cycle and off-cycle. To run it off-cycle, it's going to boost your health overall. So wonderful, wonderful supplement for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's guys, you're going to get tired when you're training crazy heavy. And sometimes when you're using PEDs, they kind of make you feel tired, Steve. You're going to have issues with water retention, which we touched on already. And as Steve says, and I was thinking about this even as Steve was talking, it's that issue of protecting yourself on cycle and then increasing the organ health and recovering after cycle. You still need to use an AI. You still have to have a PCT in place. But your ability to recover after cycle is going to be, you've half started the recovery while you was on cycle, because you made sure that your organ health was as best as it possibly could be by ensuring with use of this product that your organ health stays within range, that if there's any kind of sort of effect, it's minimized as best as possible, and then the recovery straight after you go on cycle, off cycle, straight as you go into your PCT is increased. It basically, look at it this way, guys. If you go into a PCT and your markers are off, which we kind of expect them to be after a cycle, the speed of recovery is increased. The time between cycles, you don't have to have a really long PCT because you've done everything on cycle and then in the PCT off cycle that you possibly could to get the best you possibly can. Super highly regarded, guys. If you don't listen, come on the forum, check out the users, myself, Steve, bunch of other guys, members that have used the product. Steve has the blood test. He's seen the numbers. He's seen the difference between people that used AIs and organ protectors that did not. He's seen the numbers of the effect that steroids have had on people, both of orals and high dose injectables, and so on and so forth. I'm simplifying it, guys, but it is something you need to pay attention to. Highly regarded, super duper product. And I'll bang the drum one more time, guys. Check the ingredients. Check what the ingredients do. Check the form or the standardized extract in certain examples of those ingredients versus other companies that are not using the standardized extract or the right dosage, and compare them and see what we're saying for yourself. Don't just take our word for it. Check what we're saying. Please note, we are not doctors and the opinions are ours. It's our view and based on our experience and views on the topic. Our podcast are for informational purposes and entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.